breaking down the deals, data, and disruption shaping global markets. You're listening to The Daily Ledger with Dennis Sert.
Hey folks, it is Tuesday, December 30th, 2025. You're listening to The Daily Ledger Show, and I am your host, Dennis Sert. Great to be here with you today. We got some good stories we're going to talk about today. It's been a few days since Christmas. Today's obviously one day before New Year's Eve, so hopefully you guys will be having a great New Year's Eve tomorrow. Of course, I'll still be live streaming, so I will wish you that tomorrow morning too. But yeah, so let's just go ahead and cover some of the macro stuff, like macro trends today, and then we're gonna talk about what we're gonna talk about. So here we go. The Dow Jones is down 0.51%. The Nasdaq is down 0.5%. S&P 500 is down 0.35%. And Bitcoin is up 0.97% to 88,110, 107 now. So we're going to talk about some interesting stuff. Meta buys AI startup Manus for more than $2 billion. So everybody's talking about that. So that's going to be our flagship story. And then we're going to talk about Microsoft's Nadella overhauls leadership as he plots AI strategy beyond OpenAI by the Financial Times. So we're going to talk about that too. Social media follower counts haven't mattered less, creator economy execs say, Why the electrical grid needs more software. You know, that's funny because I was kind of talking about that last week, but not to get into it yet, right? But yeah, so before we get into all of that, though, make sure to download Byte AI Market Analysis from the App Store. It's basically a financial co-pilot that tells you when to enter and exit the stock market. It does it based off of key indicators like the Bollinger Bands, the RSI curve, and the MACD/signal curve, as well as the news sentiment. It tends to refresh itself every 15 to a half hour, so you'll be getting only the freshest analyses here. So make sure to download it. Man, I use it every morning when I trade stocks. Okay. Meta buys AI startup Manus for more than $2 billion. The deal is one of the first in a major U.S. tech. Oh my God. The deal is one of the first in which a U.S. tech company has bought a startup with Chinese roots. Yeah, so I saw a lot of people on X today and yesterday kind of talking about that too. The fact that Zuckerberg went ahead and bought this sort of Singapore-based, effectively Chinese company. And so why did they buy it? They bought it because, well, first of all, what does Manus do? Like, what does it do? Basically creates these AI autonomous agents. They sort of specialize in that. And what's interesting is that they hit 100 million in annual recurring revenue or ARR in just 9 months. They went ahead and launched just in March of this year. So in record time, they started making $100 million in ARR. So that's pretty wild. So very fast, very successful startup, very young as well. And so so it seems like they were about to raise their next round when Meta went ahead and just acquired them for the amount that they were looking to raise in their next round, which was $2 billion. And so this is interesting as it comes to Meta because it seems like they didn't even, because obviously they're trying to compete against OpenAI, against Google Gemini, against XAI Grok, with Meta AI and Llama. But I think it's fair to say they don't have a ton of momentum right now. like, yeah, like Meta AI is in Instagram and stuff. It's like, okay, like, so what, right? So right now it's not like, no one's saying like, oh, I'm integrating with Llama, right? Um, yeah, I mean, so it's interesting that they went ahead and acquired this company instead of just trying to do it in-house themselves. But yeah, I mean, why reinvent the wheel, right? Like that's like one of my favorite principles. Like if there's already a solution, just use that. Don't go ahead and reinvent the wheel. That's stupid. Um, so hats off to Zuck for that. Um, apparently they're gonna stop, like Manus is going to stop their China um I guess ties, or not ties really, but they're going to stop all operations in China. So that's their thing. So it says right here in TechCrunch, unsurprisingly, Meta has already told Nikkei. I think this is like an East Asian magazine. Um, that after the acquisition, Manus won't have any ties to Chinese investors and will no longer operate in China. There will be no continuing Chinese ownership interest in Manus AI following the transaction, and Manus AI will discontinue its services and operations in China, a Meta spokesperson told the outlet. Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. I know a lot of people, a lot of like investors and others were kind of, I guess, like not worried, but like, hey, like what's going on? Is there going to be continued operations in China, just given the sort of AI race between the US and China? And so yeah, so that's sort of where we're at in terms of that. I think there was one more thing I wanted to say around Benchmark, which led their raise sort of in their previous rounds, funding rounds. And so I guess some people were saying like, oh, like Benchmark did such a small amount of funding, like, but apparently then Benchmark fired back and said, well, it's our principle, or it's one of our first principles to just invest with a small dollar amount. So whatever. Microsoft's Nadella overhauls leadership as he plots AI strategy beyond OpenAI. Software giant faces intense competition from Alphabet, Amazon, and startups. So, as we know, Microsoft and OpenAI had this like exclusive relationship starting in 2022, 2023. And in this year, in 2025, that exclusivity expired. They still have a deal together, but the exclusivity expired. Um, and so in this article, it's kind of going to how Satya Nadella is going into founder mode, and he is poaching a bunch of top AI talent at Google DeepMind as well as Meta. Um, but what I thought was kind of funny in kind of like this analogy is like, you can kind of think of the exclusivity deal ending between OpenAI and Microsoft as sort of like a breakup between like a girlfriend and a boyfriend. And it's like, what's kind of funny here in like a twisted way is like, who's gonna win, right? Like OpenAI is pursuing deals with like AWS already made that deal. Google, right? They're already making deals with like the custom TPU chips. Um, and then on the other hand, Microsoft can freely integrate with other models like LLM models like Grok, for instance, like XAI's Grok for Microsoft Azure, their cloud platform. But like my question is though, like who wins? Like who won? You know what I'm saying? Like who won the breakup? Social media follower accounts have never mattered less, creator economy execs say. So I saw this on TechCrunch this morning and I thought it was really funny because for a few years now, I've been going off of like impressions or views, like the view count. Um, like my Instagram pics, for instance, they get like 100. They've always gotten like 100, between 100. And I'm a pretty popular guy. I have a huge circle of friends, and it's like I've always gotten between like 100 and 150 likes. I think the day I graduated in 2023, I got like 300, and I guess people really like graduation photos. A lot of momentum there for whatever reason. Um, but I have this one admittedly, I have this one like shirtless pic on my Instagram, and that has like 6,000 impressions, right? So I mean, that's kind of like, not to bury the lead. That's sort of my point. It's like impression count versus like count is so like, there's such a huge dichotomy. It's like, on the one hand, oh, only 100 and 150 likes. It's like sometimes 300 at the peak, and then it's like shirtless pic, 6,000 impressions. And then like I average right around like 2,000 and 2,500 now for my other posts. But it's kind of funny. It's like, that's a lot of views. I mean, I'm just like some guy from California. And then it's like same thing on, and I and this obviously ties into the article where it's like social media accounts have never mattered less. I mean, on this channel alone, it's like, oh wow, I have like well, first of all, it's funny because I have like around 250 to 300 impressions uh per like reel that I put on Instagram. But it's like I have a follower count of 11. And it's like I can see everybody who's like actively viewing, right? You just kind of tap in on the heart in the top right corner, and then it shows you your suggested friends. It's like, oh my God, like how would I ever know where my suggested friends come from? Oh my. I mean, I don't really go on anybody's profiles. So the way the algorithm decides to show me my suggested friends is, pretty clearly based off of like interactions on my profile, given that I am not typically interacting with other profiles just because I don't really care. And it's like, okay, so I can just like see like who's viewing my, like, it's fine. It's actually like kind of fun. And but on the other hand, and I'm telling you though, it's like 300, 350 views per reel. That's why I am continuing the channel. Like, it's so the biggest problem is that Instagram only shows the creator the view count and not everybody else, because I need everybody else to see it. Otherwise, it looks like, why am I doing this for 11 followers? It's like, no. The followers don't count, people. The followers don't count. Social media follower counts have never mattered less. All right. It's been like this for a while. It's been like this since Elon took over X. All right. They're changing the algorithms. And you know what else it is? It's also because AI has become so good at essentially taking over content distribution and giving people what they want, that, like, in terms of Google Gemini with YouTube, and then Grok with X, and Meta AI, I guess, for Instagram and Facebook. Like, it no longer does it based on like who you're subscribed to or who you follow. Right? It doesn't show your algorithm, your feed, your content feed, your timeline isn't based off of who you follow. You can follow people and never see their stories. Why? Because with the advent of LLMs and AI, the AI is essentially figuring out the things that you like the most just based on how much time you spend on posts that are similar to that. Whereas posts that you'll, sort of just blast through, you probably don't care about as much, right? It's about the little things, right? The milliseconds you spend on an particular post. And it's like, it's been doing that for like since before AI, but AI has taken that to 11. And now that's the biggest metric, because at the end of the day, it matters. What matters is the minutes spent on the platform. Nobody, and when I say nobody, I mean like the executives at these companies, they don't care about like, oh, who you are only strictly getting the follows or the content that you from the people that you are following. It's like nobody cares about that. What people care about is how much time you're spending on their platform, or on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, right, on X. Because the algorithm is all about maximizing your daily minutes on the platform. That's what it's about. So if they're gonna have to kind of throw social media follower counts and who you're following into the altar of daily minutes, of maximizing daily minutes, then yeah, they're gonna do that in a heartbeat. I mean, why not? I mean, I would do that. Why the electrical grid needs more software. So this is funny because this is kind of talking about what I was talking about last week. Remember last week I was talking about how PG&E kind of screwed the pooch? in 2017, 2018, and later in 2020, right, with the North Bay fires, Camp Fire, and then later with the COVID fires, I guess. So they definitely screw the pooch, like I said, back then. And it's like my solution was, hey, like, why don't we just like dissolve? Like, it was a little bit tongue in cheek, but kind of not really, right? Like, let's get the executives fired at PG&E, and then let's get the company dissolved. But it's like on the real, like we need startups. That's kind of where I was going with that. Like we need startups to kind of go in there, right? We can't just have like one guy who's like screwing it all up, right? PG&E. And that's kind of, you know, surprisingly, not surprisingly, but like surprisingly, TechCrunch wrote an article based on that. They wrote it based off of me. And so they basically said, yeah, why the electrical grid needs more software. And they're going into why, like, big startups are, I guess, like GridCare and Yotar. Like, who comes up with these names, Yotar? But GridCare, right? They're equally as weird. Like GridCare, like, give me a break. I don't care about the grid. But like these new startups come up, and it's like, oh well, we're gonna start, distributing energy better now, right? And it's like, yeah, I mean, again, just like continuing what I was saying last week about that. Nice job. Tip the cap, right? We need startups to go in there and just like privatize, just basically all, like in a non-monopolistic way, all of the energy that's going on in California. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, so that's good. Okay, I think we're gonna end it there. Hope that was that was a pretty fun session for me. Hopefully that was equally as fun of a stream for you. I will see you tomorrow. And yeah, hope you guys have a great New Year's Eve. Peace.